clearly the car is capable of being P3, so...
You don't have any idea why it's just not happening for you?
No.
No one expected the most decorated driver of the modern era to throw away his villa weekend and bunker down in a fluorescent simulator cave. Yet that is exactly what Lewis Hamilton did when the Jeddah floodlights flicked off. Instead of boarding the team jet for a quiet reset, he walked straight past the hospitality lounge, told his assistant to wipe the calendar, and booked a one-way late-night ride to Maranello. To casual fans it looked dramatic. To Hamilton it was oxygen, a third second. Hammering by your own teammate will do that to a racing purist. Jeddah had felt brutal from the very first practice lap. The SF-25 slithered through turn 1. The rear refusing to bite no matter how sharply Hamilton dialed front brake bias. By qualifying, the deficit to Charles Leclerc was over half a second. And when the checkered flag dropped on Sunday night, the stopwatch showed a chasm of 30-plus seconds, same tires, same strategy, different universe. Commentators called the split embarrassing. Ex-driver Guido van der Garde labeled Hamilton's pace completely gone. An Italian daily log at set splashed the pink front page with a headline that roughly translated to Il Re nudo, the king is naked. The sting was still fresh when Hamilton faced the cameras. No corporate gloss, no sponsor-safe excuse, just a tight jaw and a line that cut deeper than any headline. I don't have a week off, I've got a work week. Anyone who knows his vocabulary understood the subtext. At Mercedes he once shaved 2/10 off race pace by spending 48 straight hours in a Brackley simulator. At Ferrari, canceling life for 7 days signals a full systems reboot. Inside the factory's wine swept Viale Enzo Ferrari gates. The schedule is ruthless. Dawn data sessions with chief racing engineer John Mario Fulgenzi. Mid-morning CFD correlation with Enrico Cardile. Afternoon driver and loop runs chasing tire surface. Temps and evening debriefs that routinely spill past midnight. This obsession is not brand new, but the urgency is. Ferrari's top brass have already heard Hamilton admit on live television. I know the bosses aren't happy. Public self-critique buys him credibility, yet it also puts a ticking clock over every unconverted lap. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the garage, Charles Leclerc is wielding the same red weapon. Like a rapier to podiums from to races. All high-school precision and barely a bead of sweat on the visor. His Jeddah third place kept Ferrari firmly in the constructors' hunt and deep in the rhetorical wound. If Leclerc can dance with the SF-5, why does it step on Hamilton's toes? Ralf Schumacher has already claimed the Monegasque annoyed Hamilton during strategy calls, hinting at tension simmering beneath those identical race suits. The paddock is a pressure cooker, and rumors are pinballed round WhatsApp groups, faster than telemetry downloads. Insiders whisper that Hamilton's data engineers feel they're chasing ghost understeer, an aerodynamic phenomenon that shows up only when Lewis rounds the corner. A few kilometers per hour faster than Leclerc, too quick for the front-end wake to stay attached, too slow to rely on sheer downforce. It is a cursed middle ground. Part of the answer lurks under the side pods. Ferrari entered 2025 promising incremental, but relentless upgrades. A ray-profiled floor at Bahrain. That channels vortices tight around the diffuser throat, a trimmed rear-wing pillar in Jeddah 2. Recover low loss to Saudi Arabia's gusty straits, and a far larger package scheduled for Miami incorporating ray-angled front floor fences, a lower drag beam wing, and a new carbon fiber rear suspension upright grown in the Maranello autoclave. Only last week, engineers insist the numbers are trending upward, yet telemetry whispers a brutal truth: Hamilton's corner entry micro-oscillations never stabilize the way Leclerc's do. In plain language, as the Monegasque backs the car into a late break rotation, Hamilton is still fighting for the initial bite that gives him confidence to plant the throttle on. Exit. Confidence, though, is only half the story. Ever since ground effect ventures returned in 2022, Hamilton has railed against what he calls aerosurfing, complaining that the car's ride's stiff to feel alive. In Saudi Arabia, the frustration boiled over as he described the current era as the worst, even joking he might need a brain transplant to adapt. The remark went viral, but masked a technical gripe: the SF-25's anti-dive front geometry. An aggressive rear anti-squat leaves slim margins for setup experimentation, trapping Hamilton inside a handling window that clashes with 15 years of reflexes. While fans dissect sector times, political waves are building. Italian tabloids amplify whispers that Leclerc's chassis carries experimental floor strakes. Hamilton hasn't yet tested a narrative turbocharged by fringe YouTube thumbnails screaming, "Ferrari caught hiding parts." Ferrari denies any imbalance, pointing to a single parts pool and a painstaking weight equalization protocol. But rumors rarely require evidence. When former rival Juan Pablo Montoya warns of internal turmoil, that could explode like the old Vettel-Leclerc. Spats, viewers click first and verify later. Team principal Fred Vasseur has attempted to steady the ship with plain language. Asked whether Hamilton's form alarms him, the Frenchman fired back, "I'm 2,000% behind him," reminding reporters that raw pace flashes remain buried inside FP long runs. Yet even Vasseur cannot ignore the mathematics. Leclerc already holds a double-digit points advantage. In the Miami paddock will smell blood if that gap widens. The sport's recent history is blunt. By round 5 the narrative fossilizes, and comeback drivers are forced to chase shadows of what might have been. Hamilton, for his part, refuses to trade blame. Colleagues describe him as hyper-demanding behind closed doors, auditing every line of code in the simulator software, questioning tire prep cycles, even volunteering for marketing shoots just to earn extra wind tunnel tokens during development freeze windows. That self-imposed pressure flirts with obsession. But it's the same mania that once dragged an understeering McLaren MP for 2.6 from midfield to victory in 2011, and wrestled points out of the recalcitrant W13 a decade later. The question is whether Ferrari's culture, historically proud, occasionally rigid, will bend enough to catch the curve of his learning style. Before the season drifts beyond salvage, beyond garage politics, a second battlefield is forming in the media. Sky Italia pundits throw around the dreaded phrase piloti numero uno e due, speculating that Ferrari may soon have to prioritize Leclerc if championship maths demands. British commentators clap back, reminding everyone of 2016, when Nico Rosberg built an early lead and Mercedes still let the two silver arrows fight to the final corner in Abu Dhabi. In the TikTok trenches, creators splice Hamilton's work week, quote over slow-mo shots of sparks flying from the SF25's titanium skid blocks, adding ominous bass drops and captions like "The Lion Awakens," "Engagement rockets." Nuance evaporates, yet beneath the clickbait lies an undeniable human core, a 40-year-old driver with 7 crowns, refusing to fade quietly, and a 27-year-old teammate entering his prime inside the same scarlet cockpit. 1. Battles. Physics and aging reflexes, the other battles legacy and expectation. The car sits between them like an unforgiving judge, and only lap time tells the truth. Ask any engineer, they'll show you the H-delta overlay, a rainbow squiggle of throttle trace colors stacking Hamilton against Leclerc corner by corner. Right now the gradient is mostly red, meaning the younger man unleashes power a fraction earlier, but zoom in, 5 or 6 apexes flash green where Hamilton is clearly faster. Usually medium-speed bends that resemble his Mercedes heyday. Those slivers of hope are why he stays in the simulator long past midnight. All eyes now swivel to Miami's candy-pink marina backdrop, because the Scuderia's next upgrade tranche lands there. Engineers will bolt on narrower floor edge winglets, designed to energize the diffuser, a reshaped halo fairing to trim drag, and that new rear suspension upright milled to shave a precious 450 grams off unsprung mass. If wind tunnel promises translate, Hamilton could find the rear-end stability he has begged for since Bahrain. If they don't, Leclerc might tighten his stranglehold, and the speculation machine will shift into top gear, and lurking just beyond is Imola, a track forged from narrow concrete walls and old-school curbs that reward bravery and punish hesitation. One wrong step there, and the psychological scorecard can swing violently. The sport thrives on that uncertainty. Every cancelled dinner, every leaked radio snippet, every speculative montage filters through a global audience primed for drama. Italians call it il teatro della veloce, to the theater of speed. Yet the arena's heartbeat isn't controversy, it's the relentless search for microseconds. When Hamilton clutches a paper cup of lukewarm espresso in the Maranello canteen, he isn't thinking about memes. He's picturing the precise millisecond his right foot must meet the floor exiting turn 7 at Miami, and whether the rear 18-inch Pirelli will hold or step sideways. So the simulator hums, data channels stream, and somewhere between the contradictions, the stiff platform and the quick rotation, the aging champion and the hungry air, the perfect lap hides, waiting should the stopwatch flip by even 0.3. Pundits will herald the fight back. If it doesn't, the headlines about unhappy bosses will multiply. Formula One is mercilessly transactional. Yesterday's legend becomes tomorrow's payroll expense. If the numbers don't rise, Hamilton knows this better than anyone. Perhaps that is why he drapes a small, folded note over the simulator cockpit before every overnight session. Rumored to read, "Remember why you started." history offers clues. At Silverstone 2009, a younger Hamilton sank to P16 in qualifying, then roared back later that year to win in Singapore after a relentless upgrade crusade. In 2021, after the controversial title finale in Abu Dhabi, he vanished from social media for months, only to return and claw 3 consecutive wins in the first half of 2022. The arc is familiar: setback, silence, obsession, resurgence. The unknown variable is whether Ferrari, with its labyrinthine politics and laser-focused fanbase, provides the runway for Stage 4. The clock ticks toward Miami's opening practice on the flight across the Atlantic. Leclerc is likely to watch onboard videos of his pole lap from last year, hunting for extra millimeters against the turn 11 inside curb. Hamilton, seated a few rows back, will scroll through fresh simulator runs and annotate torque delivery plots in magenta ink. Same destination, different storms raging between the years. So as the sun sets on Maranello and the simulator screens flicker with new virtual laps, the truths remain. Obsession breeds possibility, and Formula One never waits. Hamilton has erased his social calendar to chase sensations. Only he can feel through a steering wheel trembling at 320 kilometers per hour. Leclerc, already armed with podium silver, aims to cement his authority and paint Ferrari's future entirely in his own image. Somewhere between them, an elusive perfect balance of aero vortices and suspension geometry lies hidden, daring either driver to seize it first. Miami will not merely be a race, it will be an X-ray of character. Does Hamilton's restless intensity still burn bright enough to bend carbon, aluminium and airflow to his will, or will Leclerc's rising calm crush the narrative and force a dynastic shift inside the most mythic team in motorsport? Drop your verdict below, because history is written not by those who make excuses, but by those who refuse to waste a single hour when the stopwatch stings.